What is the Strategic Hamlet Program? Have you ever wondered how governments try to control rural populations during times of conflict? The Strategic Hamlet Program is a fascinating example of this. It was a policy put in place in South Vietnam during the early 1960s. President Ngo Dinh Diem, with support from the United States, launched this initiative. The main aim was to stop the spread of communist influence in the countryside. The idea was to isolate peasants from the Viet Cong, the communist guerrilla group trying to take over the South Vietnamese government. So, what exactly did this program involve? It required moving rural villagers into new fortified settlements known as strategic hamlets. These hamlets were surrounded by fences and protected by local militias. The goal was to create a barrier between the villagers and the communist insurgents. This would make it harder for the Viet Cong to recruit new members or gain support from the rural population. The program also intended to bring social and economic improvements to these hamlets. This included better education, health care, and local governance. The hope was that by enhancing living conditions, rural Vietnamese would be less inclined to support the communist cause. However, the Strategic Hamlet Program faced many challenges. From the communist perspective, it was seen as an oppressive measure. Critics described the hamlets as concentration camps. They argued that forcing villagers to relocate disrupted their traditional ways of life and caused hardship. Many villagers were moved against their will, and the promised reforms often did not happen due to corruption and poor management. On the ground, the Viet Cong managed to infiltrate some hamlets. They did this by posing as villagers or intimidating local officials. The rapid implementation of the program, along with inadequate security, led to resentment among the rural population. This resentment sometimes pushed villagers to support the Viet Cong, which was the opposite of what the program intended. In the context of major communist revolutions, the Strategic Hamlet Program shows how anti-communist governments tried to counter revolutionary movements. The Vietnamese Revolution, led by the Viet Cong and supported by North Vietnam, aimed to mobilize peasants as a base of support. The Strategic Hamlet Program was a direct response to this strategy, attempting to sever the connection between the rural population and the communist revolutionaries. The failure of the Strategic Hamlet Program is often highlighted by communists as proof of the resilience of the revolutionary movement. The inability to win over the rural population showed that many people rejected government control. They preferred the promises of land reform and social justice that the communists offered. In practical terms, the Strategic Hamlet Program illustrates the difficulties faced by governments trying to suppress rural-based revolutionary movements. It also highlights how attempts to impose security and reform from above can backfire if they ignore the needs and wishes of the people. This program serves as a case study in the challenges of counterinsurgency and the importance of grassroots support in revolutionary struggles.